Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the UGA Sports Live, the national title edition, the one we've always been waiting for, the one we hoped would be here. And it is here. It is upon us, and we are ready to talk about it. I have Coach Jim Donnan with us, the former Georgia head coach, the Hall of Famer. I have Dayne Young, who's now the super high up guy at Grady School of Journalism. So I'm the only one who hadn't gotten a raise recently. Everybody else is kind of moving up there, but and we just did a story about the coaches all getting raises and bonuses for winning the game over Michigan and now heading into the national title game. It's very exciting. Check that out at the front page of UGASports.com. But please drop your questions and comments into the show. Share this show. This is the big preview. We're not going to have another one before the title game, so you need to, if you got questions, get them answered now. Hit us up with your comments. Share it. We'd really appreciate it. Coach Jim, I got to ask you, everyone was thinking this was going to be the game that came out of the playoffs. A lot of people picked Georgia to beat Michigan. A lot of people picked Alabama to beat Cincinnati. And even before the game was before the kickoff for Michigan, everybody was talking about the rematch. What's going to be different this time?
Well, first of all, everybody's pretty good pickers because both teams dominated. It was just not very good competition by either team. And it just goes to show you the strength of our conference and what's going on with SEC and with these two powerhouse teams. As far as what's going to be different, same cast, but it's just going to have to be a situation where your best players play better than theirs do. We didn't do that extremely poor on the mistakes we made, and it just didn't look like Georgia rushing the passer. I mean, we didn't get any really forward press on them. And when you look at this kid, the way he can throw, you just can't do that. But it's a little different because Messi's not in, number 8. They're a guy that really hurt us during the game, particularly on ball possession, third down plays, and the fact that maybe we keep looking for Pickens to surface, but in his defense, if he had COVID and wasn't able to practice, then that's a tough environment to play with that kind of humidity and everything. So he should be fresh. But I look, I had a chance to, and one of the reasons you have me on the show is to provide dialogue. So I've been in this game. I've coached in this game as assistant coach, as a head coach, and I can just tell you that the preparation is so vital for a game like this. Not so much the physicality. You've gotten to this point, knocking people around and all that, but you got to be fresh mentally. There's going to be a lot of distractions. People want tickets, travel things, everything like that. People wanting to take your time away from the task at hand. And, the biggest thing for me as a coach getting my team ready was the fact that we know what got us here. We know what our strengths are, and we also know what's really cost us as far as over the years, whether it's this team or any team, some things that happen in these situations. So you really need to practice situational football more than you do just go out there and play plays and do all that. We get into a third down situation in this game, whether it's short yardage or long yardage or middle, we got to get off the field on defense. Well, we got to keep the ball on offense. We get in the red zone, we got to get something out of it. We can't take risks like we did on that one pass with Bennett throwing the ball. You can't play scared, but you also got to learn from your mistakes. The other thing is just conditioning because of the mental and physical drain that you're going to have in a game like that in an indoor facility. You really need to push yourself to be ready to play just because, hey, we played good against Michigan or we played good against Cincinnati. You're playing for the national freaking championship. You need to play at a level that you can sustain down after down. I need your best effort on every play. Whatever that is, you got to be optimum. You can't be in between. You know, you're going to think about this the rest of your life. You're going to have a legacy based on this game, regardless if you won one or not. I mean, it's just something that you'll always remember. It'll be the fact that you were on a team, whatever your role was, whether you were holding for extra points or you were the dominant player on defense or you were a guy that really did a good job on the scout team, whatever your role is, you have got to play and execute at optimum capacity all week. Don't waste any time on anything else but your approach to this game. So we'll do a good job of preparing. I don't know anybody that does any better than Kirby. He knows what to do. But the thing that really sticks out of my mind when I finish up this little diatribe here starting off is we have to avoid losing. We cannot make the mistakes we made in that game, whether it's missed block, missed assignment, not covering a guy, not going through the gap. As long as we do what we're supposed to do and not give them anything because of our, ineffectiveness, I feel good about our shots. We played tight. We didn't play loosey-goosey, and it showed. I mean, that's just being very, objective about it. But at the same time, I just feel like one more point here. They had this thing that for people to project who was going to be the leading passer in the semifinal game, the four guys, Ritter or Ryder, whatever his name is, Young, our guy, and then McCaffrey and McCarthy, whoever they were. Stetson outpassed them all by 150 yards. I mean, he had over 300 yards. Nobody had over 160. I mean, Bryce Young, 160 in that game. Of course, they ran the ball, but I tell you, I like what they did. We'll have a lot of questions. That's my opening statement. So that's what
we're done.
I feel about it. And I hope people can have some questions for us. But the biggest thing all of us need to take away is we need to go into this game as fans, not worried about what we've done or what we have or what we hadn't. We need to go in there and give them your best shot. If you go to Indianapolis, you need to scream your dang lungs out. And you need to sit there and think about everything that's going good. And when things are going bad, let's talk about it on Tuesday, not during the game. Hey, we need the best shot we ever had from our fans, and yell like crazy when the Alabama's on the field and make those offensive linemen not hear the calls. I mean, they got to hear them in the championship game at SEC, and it helped their protection. I mean, against Auburn, they couldn't. So let's rush the passer with long, loud voices. So that's it for me for now. I'll see you later.
Dave, I think that's as good as we could do. You and I are just here as screen decoration. That's about as it. But give me your thoughts on this game, Dane, because I think Coach nails it. The frustration for a lot of Georgia fans was that game against Alabama did not look like the previous 12 games. And I get it. You're playing a different team. You have to adjust to who your opponent is. And I thought the idea of double teaming both their top wide receivers, great idea. Kind of containing the run game, kind of trying to contain Bryce Young, great idea. Didn't work. So I think going into this one, a lot of fans are like, can we at least play like we played against Michigan, play like we did against everybody else, and see if that works? And I think Coach nailed it by saying, don't lose the game. And he's not saying you got to win it. He's saying, don't give it away. And Georgia gave away a ton of points, a ton of yards, a ton of 2 possessions in turnovers. And I think a lot of people be a lot happier about that game. If you went in and got your ass kicked, so be it. But don't go in and kick your own ass.
And that all starts with the turnovers. When Georgia does not turn the ball over, Georgia's not getting blown out. Georgia only gets blown out when it's giving away possessions. And that's what you saw in the SEC championship. Now, since that point, if you did stock up and stock down on the personnel for these teams, well, one team lost John Mechie, who's going to be an NFL receiver. The other team got back George Pickens in more quantity, at least. He's going to be NFL receiver. So in terms of the weapons on the field, Georgia's in a better spot than Alabama now as compared to a month ago. And I think that makes a big difference. The other thing, and I think the semifinal in the college football playoff kind of showed the importance of the history of this. Everyone said, could these be close games? For sure, that there's talent with Cincinnati and Michigan, whatever, fine. But the average point spread between the winner and the loser after these semifinal games has been 20 points. These historically are blowouts. That's also the case in the national championship game in a lot of cases. I did the composite. The winning national championship team in the title game since the playoff has been around averages 41 points. The losing team averages 26. So 41 to 26 could be what this is, and I could see either team doing that. The last time that there was a super competitive national championship game, it was Georgia and Alabama, and we all know how that ended. And so could this be close? Yeah, but I think either team has the ability, again, like you were saying, if mistakes happen, that this turns into a margin of victory that could be multiple possessions.
Yeah, you made some good points there. And the thing about turnovers, though, that I always told our team, turnovers certainly make a lot of difference. Where do they happen on the field? Well, the one happened for a touch pick six. That's just – you can't have a pick six. Most teams lose when you give up a kick return for a touchdown, a pick – you give 6 points up. But the one inside their 20 doesn't hurt you near as much, but it takes points off the board. But I think a key value in this game that we've got to really be careful about is we weren't worried about the run in that game because Robinson had a pulled hamstring and, he was very ineffective. And so we were, even though, like Roddy said, we double covered people, but when we double cover them, we got to remember we're double covering. That's your job. We blew it a couple of times and the guy got wide open. But we're going to have to be ready to stop the run in this game more than we were last time because this guy's a hammer and tong back. I mean, he makes the pile move. They're not a great run blocking team, but they try to get edge blocks with guys in motion. So tackling in space is really critical. But here's what's going to happen that I thought was great that Cincinnati showed when you studied the film. Cincinnati really played off their receivers and made sure they didn't give up big plays. They gave up one 41-yard touchdown where a guy busted and he came out on the inside receiver on the corner. But overall, they were kind of bend and don't break. I'm not saying we're going to play that. That's not our style. But they are very effective in no long pass plays. They did give up a lot of runs, but so many of them were just missed tackles. They had guys at the point of attack, and the guy just ran through it. So we've got to tackle well and get off the field. But I do hope that we'll mix up a little bit more and not play quite as much in-the-face defense on those receivers, maybe back off. And, hey, if they catch a 12-yard pass, so be it. Let them do it, but make them execute. Here's the one thing that I always talk about in preparing for a team. You don't have to pressure every down. No question, you don't have to. But you can simulate it. You can make them think it's coming and make it get in his mind. Okay, here comes 88 with a twist with Davis inside, or here comes Smith off the edge. It looks like he's a speed rusher, and then he drops in coverage. But, we got to get this guy thinking a little bit. He's very smart, but the threat of simulated pressure is good too. So I just feel like we're going to bring the ranch on this guy, but we're going to mix it up. And you saw, he had 161 yards passing against Cincinnati, but the running game stood out very well too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, Coach, when Dayne was talking about Alabama losing a receiver and Georgia kind of getting one back in George Pickens. I was saying, well, they also got a running back. But my question to you is, it felt to me Georgia got away from the run in that SEC title game. And again, I hate to be the fan or the person, the back.
But you are the guy. You are the guy.
But I'm just saying this.
Say it. Don't even say it. Say it. Just kept your ass.
Why? Well, let me. Why do you? When something seems to be working, the other team will make an adjustment. I didn't see a huge adjustment there. I just felt like the philosophy was to attack through the air. And Stetson had 340 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns.
It wasn't the plan to go in there. We ended up throwing 49, but we had a couple sacks and a couple runs. We definitely don't want to do that. But you're exactly right. We've got to be very patient, and you can be patient when the other team's not scoring. You know what I mean? When it's the whole first quarter was like that. We ran, passed, did everything. We're up 10-0. Then all of a sudden they get it rolling. And the second quarter against Alabama, against Florida, against LSU, everybody's been our nemesis. I mean, we get behind in the second quarter, and we didn't get the ball back until it was 31-17 because they scored, and then they ended up scoring on the first possession of the second half. So I hope that we get to defer and we got the ball first in the second half just in case that happens. But, I just feel like you can drive yourself into submission worrying about the last game. But what I thought was good yesterday, what Kirby said, when he got back off the plane here at Athens, he said, we've got our notes from the first game, which that's what you do after you play a game like that. While it's on your mind, you go in there and make if I had this to go over again, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. And then you got that on every team you play. So when you play them again, you got it. Who would know that we were going to play these guys again? But there's a good chance of it. But that's what we always did against Nebraska, against you have that stuff in your kind of Bible there that you look first verse, second chapter, Nebraska, and you go in it, or Alabama, and you study them all year long and you get a good feel for it. So I know that we will have a good – I really feel that the running game needs to be really stressed this week, not only for – help Stetson, but also keep Alabama off the field.
Amen.
Let's get to this super chat, which if you do a super chat, it's going to make the show, unless it's like crude or something. So, but Adam Hicks has a question for you, Coach. It says, did Georgia change the defensive scheme in the SEC championship? Georgia looked confused on defense.
We made some changes, and you heard Scene and some of those guys talk about most of them were in the secondary because Kirby – he's a brilliant secondary guy. I mean, that's his life, and he knows the passing game. And he worried about us being able to cover these guys, Messi and Williamson, just like I would worry about it. So he felt like that we were good enough up front to rush without using some of our secondary guys on other kind of stuff. So we doubled both of them, which Radi. I don't know how Radi knew that. It's no way he would know that.
You said it during our watch along.
Oh, okay. But anyway, he's using that stuff like it's Vince Lombardi, but it's good. But anyway, he does know a lot more about football than I know about journalism and stuff like that. That's his stuff, but like you guys do. But I do feel like this is a good question. Who's the guy that asked it?
That was Adam Hicks.
Yeah, Adam, that's a good question. We didn't really have a wholesale change, but we didn't have we were more worried about the pass than normal. And because of that, we tried to do some things. We hadn't really done a lot of double coverage or what we call cut, things like that all year. And we did it, and it didn't work. And fortunately for us, we're going to have some ways to understand that maybe not be the best thing. And now you're not going to have to double both of them because one guy's out. I mean, anybody in their right mind would double number one for this game. I mean, whoever's playing them is going to do it because you can't let that guy beat you deep. And we'll do that, but that'll free up at least one other guy because we won't have to double mesh.
Darth Flyer says if Georgia can't run the ball game. I agree, but I would also add if Alabama can't run the ball game. Whichever team gets off balance here, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, I wouldn't go out on a limb on that. You've got to have a good balance. But I do feel like that we'll be able to, based on if they line up against our 13 personnel like they did, so worried about Bowers doing all the stuff he does. So 13 for us is 3 tight ends, and you put them all in a little bunch there in a little slot, where you got 3 guys bunched up, and they can all go different directions. The outside guy can go in, the middle guy can go out. They can switch. They can do all. So all their run support's worried about what are these guys going to do. Well, if you can get a tie at the point of attack with your guard and tackle, then that's a soft area back there because those guys are backing up. I wish I had a whiteboard to draw it up and maybe look like I know what I'm talking about. But basically, if you just think about if you're running against somebody and the fist is closed right there, it's going to be harder to knock them off. But if that fist is open and they're really backing up, I mean, you've got a really good chance of going after him and then really getting him as compared to him being right on top of you. So I like that. And I also like the fact that we were able to do a good job containing 31 for them, Anderson. And we've just got to do a little bit better job on some of our runs, anticipating where he's going to attack. So if I'm blocking this guy coming this way like this, and he goes inside of me, I got to make sure that I protect the inside first. So I need to go at this angle to stop him instead of just going here and hoping that he's going to go one way or the other. Protect the inside first. Hey, if he goes outside, that's great. So he slashed inside of us a couple of times and really made plays from the backside. So and their linebackers are pretty good too. But let me just tell you this. This is not the best defense in the history of college football we're going against. I mean, they got issues at corner, that Kool-Aid guy who's a good young corner. But I'm telling you, every time George Pickens lined up out there, this kid looked like he's in the fetal position backing up. So I think we can really attack him, and they got another corner that might be hurt too. So, hey, throw the ball too. It's nothing wrong with that. But the other thing that I feel like is really big in this game is if you count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 looks to me like Burton is ready to go. And if he's out there along with the Bowers on the inside and Pickens on the other side, we got some dangerous threats right there. And I don't know what his touchdown to reception area average is this year, but he's been on fire on the deep ball. So that's good. And we always know we got Ladd who, that was almost a great catch on that sprint out we used. So there's a lot of good ideas. Keep on going here. I mean, I like these challenging questions.
Well, Coach, with Burton, what I've seen on tape, he has dramatically improved his open field blocking. And so, he can be in there with those 3 tight end sets and be the receiver. Ladd can too. They've both proven they can block in the open field.
Good blockers.
And then you see what George Pickens is doing off the line of scrimmage against Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that guy was ready for that jack by George, but another thing that was good was just our, and I think you guys picked it out on your film don't lie thing, was just we ran a quick play on them and ran a tackle eligible where Bowers lined up as the outside guy beside the guard and moved the tackle over to the other side, snapped the ball quick, and they didn't have anybody on him. I mean, and that's just real good coaching by Munkin and our team. And it's also very patient by our players showing that they can line up at the last second and get where they need to real quick. And that defense has got to pick it out, because if you're a defensive back or linebacker and all, and you're used to coming up there and that tackle on that side is ineligible and he's going to block you and there's a guard beside him, you're really not thinking about it. Then all of a sudden that tackle's not there and 19's there. and the guy is off the line on the outside, McConkey, which makes this guy eligible. Hey, throw it up there. That's good. Hey, you did that by yourself.
How about this producing on the fly?
That was good. Well, I mean, hey, I wish we could run it back. Just stop it right there. I'm going to get John Madden. Stop it. So you can see that the tackle is Bowers. And so the other tackle, who is Salyer, he's moved over to this side. So we got 2 tackles and a tight end and a guard. I mean, it's just very good there. Very good.
I thought Mike called a hell of a game for those first 2 drives. I mean,
yeah,
up 14-0, and all of a sudden,
he always calls a good game. He always calls a good game when you win.
No, that's true. But I just, when we were talking earlier about kind of the philosophy going into it, and I just think he had them heads wrapped around themselves. They were obviously confused. And I thought it was just and again, you look great when you have great execution. You call plays and they bomb, and people are like, oh, that was a stupid play call. It's like, well, the guy missed a block, or this guy didn't break a tackle. So,
right.
I think there's a huge confidence boost going into that game because, and again, should be really amongst the fan base. I don't think the players were really questioning themselves, but they went 12-0. They get into the SEC title game, they lose badly, and everyone's like, "Wow, they were just overrated," and they feasted on weak teams, which was not true. But I think it really helped Georgia's confidence to go out and take on the number 2 team in the nation, beat the brakes off of them, and now you're like, okay, we're going up against Alabama, and it's the fear of the unknown, Coach. I was trying to write about this, but I'm not a good writer. When you think there's something under the bed, or you think that there's something, a job interview coming up, and you're just kind of terrified of the unknown. You've gone head-to-head with Alabama. You've gone to camps with these guys. You've known them coming up. Some of these guys played against each other in high school. Now you've gone on the field against them. You played against some of them last year. Jamari Sawyer's not freaked out about Will Anderson. He didn't, maybe they hadn't gone head-to-head, but now he's played him, and he knows what he does and what he doesn't do. Same with Warren McClendon. Your cornerbacks going up against their secondary guys. Tackling Brian Robinson, he's going to be healthier this time, but your inside linebackers are not like, they understand what's coming. I think that familiarity gives us a different ball game altogether.
Yeah, I mean, any way you look at it, those guys in Vegas, I mean, they're not out there with all those big buildings because they don't know what they're doing.
True.
And the fact that they still got us favored in this game pretty much says that, even though we lost like we did, that they, hey, do you want to give – it's gone up. It went from 2.5 to 3. So people are betting on –
how'd you know that?
People are betting on Georgia. I mean, so but let me just say this about what all of us are saying. The more we can use what we did or didn't do to get ready instead of just dwelling on, what's happened in the past, the better we're going to be. We need to be forward thinking about look at why a play's going to work instead of why it's not going to work, like that. And one of the things that my father, who was very, very astute and so many things he told me, right before we got to play the national championship game down in Miami against Penn State, we were over there at the Fontainebleau Hotel. And, we were just sitting out there in the lobby and we're getting ready to leave to go play. And, you got Caesar's Palace up there. We got to put, and he just said, let me just tell you one thing about this game. This might be the only time you ever get to play for it. And you need to let go balls out. He said, just don't worry about anything. He said, just go balls out. And I never forgot that. And we won. I mean, I called some, it's like the other day, Monkey calls a halfback pass. I mean, it was good. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a trick play as much as it was something they thought would keep the other team off guard. We're running the wishbone, and we shifted to double slot on Joe Paterno, and Keith Jackson caught an 88-yard pass because they thought they were in the wrong stadium because we were in a double slot, So, I mean, you got to do – and I'm not bragging here. All I'm saying, I guess I am a little bit, but I am saying this. When you got a chance to take your shot, whatever it is in life, you got to take it. I mean, take your shot and go for it. And I see us doing that. I mean, I see us doing it on defense, special teams, offense, and we'll see how it all pans out. But I feel good about our shot myself.
Hey, Roddy, let's get to Coop's question after a quick break to chat about Your Pie and Athens Ford.
I want to mention our friends over at Your Pie. They have their new hot honey pepperoni pizza. I say new; they've had it before, but they brought it back, and you really got to try the hot pepperoni. It's a fantastic pizza. They do a lot of specialty pizzas over there, and of course, if you don't like the specialty pizza, you can always go in and grab a different type. You can always say, "Hey, look, here's the crust I want. Here's the sauces I want. Here's the different toppings I want. You can put as many meats on, as many vegetables on as you want. They will take care of it." They also, of course, have salads and pastas and sandwiches, gelato, fresh beer, pretty much everything you could want. Check out our friends over at the Your Pie locations. There's a ton of them. You can order today. It's Tuesday. If you do it on the app, you'll get double points. Those points add up incredibly fast. It's not like some of these other VIP things where you sign up and you never get anything free out of it, or you have to buy thousands of dollars worth of stuff to get a 10-cent bonus. The double points thing through the EuroPie app is fantastic, and it's always on Tuesday, so be sure to hit that up. And I want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford. They have a ton of vehicles on the lot. It's tough to actually get all those or to find vehicles in town. But I want to mention something. I needed service done on my Ford Explorer, and I clicked on their service tabs, because you can actually go in and tell them when you want to have your service done. Say, look, I want it Tuesday at 4 or Wednesday, whenever, and here's what I'm going to get done. And you schedule it yourself. It's fantastic. I went over there the other day and it said, hey, we are rebuilding this, so please just email us. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So I emailed them. 10 seconds later, someone reached back to me and they said, look, here are the times we have available. Which one do you want? I'm like, oh, I want this one. They said, okay, well, you're set up. And then they sent me a confirmation to put onto my calendar. Again, top flight service, even while they're rebuilding parts of their website. So I just want to give a shout out to our friends at Athens Ford. Yes, they have a ton of vehicles that you can't find anywhere else in town right now because everybody's low on cars. They right now have close to 300 vehicles on the lot. But if you need any service done, normally you can go in and just pick your time. Now you just email them while they're rebuilding that matrix to make it even easier for you. Hit them up and they will reach out to you immediately. It's not like you're just shouting into the void asking for someone to balance your tires, change your oil, whatever. They will definitely reach out to you and try to make it as easy as possible. And of course, you want some custom work done in your vehicle. You want some custom parts. You got a nice Ford F-150 and you want some customization done on that. They have an amazing customization department over there that you need to check them out. So when you get a chance, swing by our friends at Athens Ford, and shout out to them for sponsoring the lights over in the Botanical Gardens. I was able to do that, I think, 30th or something. Went over to check out the lights in the Botanical Gardens. That was fantastic. So if you did not get a chance to do that, you need to check it out next time.
Super chat question from Coop says, Coach, how does Georgia adjust to Bama's tempo? Georgia wasn't able to sub Davis and Wyatt and looked exhausted in the SEC championship.
Yeah, that's good. Another good analysis there by him. They ran like 48 plays on us in the first half, I think. And we are a team that subs a lot. I mean, you can watch our team all year long and try to put fresh guys in there. The one thing you got to do is stop them and get off the field. The other thing is get in better shape and not just get used to somebody coming in for you. You got to practice that. Like, hey, we're gonna have to play 7 or 8 plays, and I think they really have worked on that. They did that extremely hard getting ready for going down to Michigan because it was going to be so hot, and they didn't know whether Michigan was going to keep the ball like Alabama or not. So I think we're going to get some good carryover from that conditioning, and also the fact that they got to understand we can't. And the reason, just to show people when they're running tempo, the refs aren't going to stop the clock unless the other team puts somebody in and lets you sub accordingly. So he made a good point there. But I think our conditioning is going to help. I think the fact that they understand that they got to play hard down after down, and which they do, but they just can't count on somebody coming in for them.
Super chat question from Lee Maddox. What are your thoughts on getting James Cook a lot more touches in the upcoming game? In my opinion, he's the most dynamic player out of the backfield.
He's a pretty smart man. I mean, there's no question there. We didn't do enough of that against Bama the first time. And a lot of that was situational, just the fact that we, had a good first quarter, and then second quarter didn't do very much, and then we were behind so much he's not near as effective when you're throwing the ball every down. Where he's good is when you got the thread of the run, he can sneak out on the backer and work on them and things like that, or he line him up as a wide receiver. I mean, he's great at that. So very similar to what we did against Tennessee, where you're running play after play and you got rhythm and all. But I think the real key for James being effective is us having a lot of snaps where we can use him and White. And I think White will be big in this game because when he does run the ball, he needs to get 5-6 yards, get some chunk plays. And we got some good help there now. McIntosh is ready. I mean, and also Kendall Milton. So we got good.
Yep.
Yeah, that helps us.
That leads into a question from UGAsports.com. And Guy asked, do you think that Georgia stays with the run longer this time around? It seems like there was early success with Zamir White, but then Georgia got away from it. I guess talking about the SEC championship.
Yeah, I agree with that. We did because the situation in the game where we're trying to catch up. And when you're calling plays, you also got to look at what the defense is doing. And it didn't look like that the defense was going to stop them. So we're calling plays to try to catch up more than just say, hey, what are they giving us and all that. You look at what they're giving, but all of a sudden you're down 14 and they're scoring at a pretty good clip. I mean, they hadn't punted since they were down 10-0 when it was 31-17. So obviously we got away from the run, but the big dictator there will be, are we still, score-wise right there with them? And that'll be good. We're a better team running the ball, play action, stuff like that. But we did throw a lot of drop-back stuff on these guys at Michigan. But, they had a hard time rushing the passer, and they had two of the best pass rushers in the country that didn't do diddly. I mean, both those guys got snuffed. I mean, I think Radi showed me that 5.43 report he had, and it was he predicted that stopping the run rush would be even more important than a lot of people said that was the most important, but he said the most important part was which quarterback played good. So we did both. We stuffed them, and it wasn't a problem. Salyer and McClendon did great, and then of course Stetson outplayed their quarterback. So I'm anxious to see what he writes this time. I mean, he's probably thinking about it right now.
Write anything at this point.
Yeah,
I got a good streak going. I don't want to mess it up right before the championship.
But he's going to have a few Bud Light seltzers out there and then write it. So,
yeah, Coach is weird. Everybody knows I can be in life. I'm an optimistic person. I always think everything's going to come up great. When it comes to Georgia football, I'm a very pessimistic person. And somebody asked me, what do you think is going to happen? And I said, what's more likely to happen? Georgia gets this 41-year monkey off its back, or we spend 9 months bitching about the fact that Georgia lost the championship game. And knowing the abuse the Georgia fan base is set up for every year, I feel it's going to be the latter. But I'm going to tell you, if the Braves can do it this year, there's just – could you imagine the Braves and the Bulldogs coming through in the same year? The state of Georgia might just fall apart. I'm just saying, I think it'll happen. There's a reason. I'm with you, Coach. When Vegas says they can do it, they can. And I don't think that you can beat Kirby Smart in back-to-back games in the same year like you did. I think
Georgia, look at the Auburn game, how much improvement we made a couple years ago. But I do feel like this about the players. They don't feel the monkey on their back about the 41 years. This is their team. I mean, they don't know Herschel Walker. I mean, they probably know Herschel Walker, but they don't know a lot of these guys. But it is maybe a little bit more pressure on the coach and all. But it's 6th year here, but it's second time he's playing for national championship. 6 years, pretty dang good. So you just got to.
I'm optimistic.
You got to seize the moment more than you have to worry about the past. And I just feel like, which I would tell our team, look, we went through a bowl situation. I thought Kirby did a great job of using the bowl to relax our players. It wasn't all hammer and tong down there. He let them go to the events. They were able to enjoy the beach. They were able to be part of the whole thing, even though the COVID thing was very well under control as far as our people, as far as they handle it, but they weren't boxed up and just in a vacuum. This game is a lot different than a bowl game. I mean, we're not going to go. We're not even going to leave until Friday, and we'll leave late Friday and get there like 8:00. So you're just going to be there essentially 3 nights, and the first night doesn't really count because as soon as you get there, you're probably going to bed. So you're not going to have a lot of bowl experience, and it's more of a with the Zoom now. You're not going to have one of those deals where all the players go out and get interviewed and all that. So it's going to be more like a regular game. I mean, just going in there and we'll have one practice there in Indianapolis, and then our typical walkthroughs on Sunday. But this week, just preparation. I mean, just really prepare, study tape, know your opponent. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight. I mean, when does he jab? When does he slam? Hey, you gotta know your guy inside out, and our players will do it, and so will them. So will theirs.
Dayne, has the school canceled classes yet on Monday?
No. But some professors are going to be lenient with that attendance situation.
They really
that
should.
probably will
They
happen.
really should.
Now, here's what I'll tell you about Alabama, though. This is not as good of an Alabama team as the Tide had last year. I know they had a Heisman Trophy winner then, and they do this year too. This is a really good Alabama team. Alabama's already beaten Georgia once. They can do it again. They have that kind of talent. But Alabama also struggled with Auburn, struggled with Arkansas, struggled with LSU, lost to Texas A&M. And I think Georgia's better than all those teams. And
Tennessee, they had a hard time with Tennessee fourth quarter game, but it's just the fact they did beat us and beat us handily. But you got to, like we said, take the good and the bad from that game and really work hard to play our game, and we should be fresh and ready to rock.
This is a super chat question from Dante E. He says, Brock is a Monstar, which is a Space Jam reference, which I always appreciate. He says, but the offense is nowhere near its potential if George Pickens does not have at least 5+ targets. We have to target other threats. In his opinion, what do you think about getting Pickens more targets?
Yeah, I think he's exactly right. And just look at the last game, though. Part of the reason was he didn't practice. I mean, he didn't even get he was out of practice for all that time with COVID, plus the fact he didn't even start practicing to, full speed until the Georgia Tech game. So there's been a good buildup. I think we'll see more of him in here, but Mitchell's done well out there. He's been effective, but George, I think the fact that George missed that whole week prior to going down there just really kept him from playing a whole lot. So he'll get some good targets. And I can tell you this: if you would look at if you had a memory bank and had a chance to go into Stetson Bennett's dreams, it would be dreaming of throwing the ball to George Pickens like he did against Auburn 2 years ago when they lined up man in the red zone and he put it right on there for a touchdown. So I can see us going to George, and then we got Bowers and we got Burton and we got a lot of things. We just got to
call it Kears Jackson right now. Kears Jackson, the senior.
Well, hey, Kears gets every catch like it's going to be his last one because he doesn't. That was a great catch he made in that game. But that's another thing that just shows you what can happen in football. We made 2 stupid penalties there on that possession where we got a chance to go in and just put them away, got the ball on the 10-yard line and then get, Brock comes in there and does a post chop, which, you can't do that. I mean, but we're not going to fire Bowers because he made one mistake this year. But, that was not real smart. You know what I mean? You got to avoid one thing. I'm just going to act like I'm talking to the team. 15-yard penalties are the worst thing you can have next to a turnover. I mean, you can get some 10-yard, but if you get a 15-yard penalty, you made some kind of stupid mistake, either a personal foul or whatever it might be. So there's not, and what I used to tell everybody that was a non-skill guy, like you don't have a chance to touch the ball the whole game and affect it, but you can help with. But there's not a player on our team worth a 15-yard penalty that doesn't touch the ball. So you get a 15-yard penalty, your ass is hurting our team bad because you can't make it up. You're never going to get the ball to make up those 15 yards.
A couple things just to point out, and I've seen some of this in the chat. Brock Bowers does have an injured shoulder, but it's a pain tolerance thing. He's going to play. He's going to play a lot. and then deal with whatever that is in the offseason, because someone did ask. Christopher Smith with the targeting penalty does not have to sit out because that happened in the first half. Chaz Chambliss did have a second half targeting penalty against Michigan. He is not available to play in the first half. And as coach, you said on the watch along show, people think that's a backup, not going to matter as much. He's a special team starter, so that someone else is coming into that
he's
spot.
a really good player, and he got a good motor. But I think you take a lemon and make a lemonade out of Chris Smith. The guy's had a hurt knee. He avoided about 30 or 35 snaps of contact, which he didn't do that on purpose, but he avoided 30 or 35 snaps by being put out of the game. So he'll be a lot better against Alabama because he could have gotten his knee hurt. You know what I mean? His knee is not healthy, so that helps us. And the point that Kirby made, and I would make it to our fans, when you get in a situation where you're doing something that's not normal for you, like Williamson against Alabama covering a punt, that's not why he's out there. He's a pass catcher. He's a guy that goes down and changes the game. He returns kicks, but he got thrown out of the game for a targeting call on a tackle on a kick. So you got to be real careful when you're outside your MO doing what you're supposed to do technique-wise. Smith did the same thing on throwing a block on an intercepted pass where he's a tackler, he's a pass cover, he's not a blocker. So if you're going to do something outside your bailiwick, be real careful that you do it within the confines of the rules. You see what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
I'm doing too much talking there, but
well, Dayne and I had a coach.
You get kicked out of the game for a foul that on when you're on the other side of the ball.
Yeah. Well, Dayne and I haven't coached in the national title game. You've done it a couple times. You've been there, so we're going to let you talk for most of the show. But before we talk about something else, I do want to mention our friends at Dead Soxy. Before the season started, they came on as a sponsor. They sent us some socks. We tried them out, but we lost. And I mentioned that, hey, these are your new lucky socks. Georgia's in the title game. I'm not saying that those socks did it, but I'm not saying that they didn't. And they do have their Georgia styles. So, and this is the prize pack that we send to anybody at UGASports.com who wins the score prediction contest. So we have those. They come in a fantastic box with the hell, it's better than most jewelry I get for my wife. So point being, they are lucky socks. I said it as kind of a joke, but you're 13-1, about to play for your second title in 5 years. Coincidence? No, I don't believe in it. Also want to mention our friends at Academia Brewing Company. You're going to want to watch this game someplace with a lot of friends, a lot of fans. And you want that big party atmosphere. Swing by Academia Brewing Company. Check them out. They make wonderful beer. They have fantastic food. They have giant screens everywhere. They have the lounge. They have the beer garden outside when it's not freezing like it is now. But the big lounge area, you definitely want to swing by Academia Brewing Company. I do want to mention something for after the game on January 13th from 8 to 10. They're going to have the Athens Comedian Night. So you can check out the a comedy night from our friends at Academia Brewing Company. So there's always something going on. I know a lot of us are on Facebook, some are not. You need to follow them on Facebook and Instagram and see all the new events that they have coming up. So Thursday, January 13th, they have the big comedy night. There's live music on the 9th. They have stuff coming up on the 6th. Of course, beer and biscuits brunch on the weekends. So when you get a chance, swing by our friends at Academia Brewing Company and wear your Dead Soxy socks over there when you get the chance.
I just want to do one thing here that I've always wanted to do, because you two guys always do it, but I'm going to kind of do it right here, and don't be busting me, okay?
No, good luck.
All right. Just pretend that we're coming in and I'm taking over, okay? This is Coach Jim Donnan. I just want to tell you right now, I've been dealing with socks living in Burlington, North Carolina my whole life. I used to peddle socks to when I was at school and sell them from outlet there in Burlington. So I know a lot about socks. I've been involved with them, but I guarantee you one thing: these dead socksy things right here are the best things I've ever had on my feet. And I promise you, I've had these all kind of my whole life. Burlington's gold toe, all that stuff. They're good. These babies right here will stay up. They'll last. And whoever's making them needs to get a patent on it because they're going to make a lot of money. Because I guarantee you, I used to work in a clothing store. I know what socks are all about. I don't know much football, but I can tell you this. If you got a chance to buy some of these, or even if they don't have your school colors, like I told Roddy, I want some camel colored ones and some navy and all that. But I like the red and black and all that. But, hey, I'm glad these guys are sponsoring our show because they know what they're doing. So get some of these damn socks. And if you don't, I'm not going to be on the show anymore.
Hey, Roddy, you need to raise that advertising rate just a little bit after that one. Call it dead socks.
I wouldn't tell you if I didn't believe it. I mean, I asked for some more of them, and this is one I hadn't put on yet. But I'm going to do it. But I was saving them for the show. So that's it for me.
He literally named it. So he's right. So we appreciate all of our sponsors. It's been a fantastic year, and we have some new sponsors coming on like Rogue Apothecary and Connor Grading and Landscaping, guys like that. And we appreciate all the folks that have been with us.
All our sponsors. You look at how long they've been with us. They're people that we care about, and Athens Sport and Your Pie. I mean, no question about academia. Just one thing after another, and then of course our watch along show. But
without it, we wouldn't have these shows.
These people care about Georgia too. That's what I like.
They do. Coach, I kind of wanted to touch back on, we're talking about Brock Bowers and A.D. Mitchell and Ladd McConkey, and you talked about Georgia being in this game for the second time in 5 years. That's 3 freshmen, and I mentioned Kyrus Jackson being a senior and, some of these upperclassmen who came back, Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis and, your junior leadership. I know a lot of people feel like if you don't get it done this year, this is our one shot at it. And you talked about, hey, be loosey-goosey, go after it. I know a lot of people, regardless of the outcome, will think if they lose, we'll never get back there again. I'm looking at next year's schedule. I think you're right back in this thing. And then after the game, you're going to lose some players to the NFL. You're going to lose some to the transfer portal. It's no team is immune from that.
May lose some coaches.
Got this team running. I'm pretty damn impressed with the idea that looking at that schedule next year, I'm like, you're back in this. I think that's hey, you win it, and next year we're talking about, hey, can they go back to back?
This team's built for success. This program's built for success. I mean, there's no question about the youth on the team and the way it's going to surface. And we've talked about it. The guys that are the backup linemen right now don't have the experience, but they're going to really be good in the O-line. I mean, and then Washington, you got this Delp guy coming in here, and then you got all these defensive ends that actually look better in person than the ones we got playing. So we got to get some D linemen in there, and then the secondary might be one of the best secondaries ever recruited. And from what I heard, we're looking at a couple transfer people at certain positions that really, if those guys come in, I'm not talking about quarterback right now because that just came out, but there's some really good guys that we're looking at that will what time is it? 12:54. I'm just telling you, we're going to get a couple stars in the portal. We're going to get some guys that'll make my mouth water, just like DK did. I mean, we're going to get some.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You brought in Darian Kendrick through the portal when you absolutely needed some cornerbacks. As you pointed out, you lost 7 defensive backs from last year to this year. And who was the defensive MVP of that game with 2 picks? Darian Kendrick. And
I tell you one thing Darren needs to do, though. He better not look into the backfield and let Williams get off the line like he did that kid from Michigan. Now he needed to get those 2 picks to pick up for that bad technique he used. But he's a guy that has been to this game and had success with it. I'm sure he's talking to the players about how they prepared at Clemson, what they did, all that stuff. That's invaluable. I mean, he's been on that spotlight. He knows what to do. So that's really good for our players to be around him.
So we have 5 minutes left in the show. I have 3 questions from the dog vent that I want to get to quickly. Coach, I want to say congrats to you and your family, because I saw where the Southern Conference had its 100th anniversary team, and right there in the middle of it, Todd Donnan showing out with what he did from his Marshall days. And so congrats to your family. I know that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was great for Todd because, he had a tremendous career up there and won several awards that most people don't as football player. He was chosen as out of over 500 athletes in the Southern Conference as the student athlete of the year, beside being the player of the year that his senior year. So real happy for Todd, and it's well deserved. I appreciate you pointing that out. So what do we got for questions here?
All right, so let's go 30 seconds maximum on these answers, and some of it we may have already answered, but it came from the folks over at UGAsports.com, which everyone needs to be a member over there. This is from PA Dog 610. Coach, what changes to Georgia's defensive scheme do you make on the game plan this time around compared to the SEC championship?
Well, we won't be double covering both guys. We'll do a better job of that. We'll probably show more pressure and do more pressure with not just counting on the 4 and 5 man guys getting in there. And then hopefully we'll harass the guy and get in his face. And when we have a chance to sack him, maybe get a few. Just can't let him run around back there. So we got to put a lot of pressure on him and do a good job with mixing up our coverages.
Question from Riser: what adjustments do you see Alabama making on offense from what they did in the SEC championship game? They have a healthy starting running back, but are down Mechie, the first-round wideout.
Yeah, I think we'll see more run game from them because Robinson is there. Shorten the game a little bit, as far as limiting our possessions. They probably won't go tempo quite as much. They'll use some of it, but I look for them to – a lot of motion, try to create an edge, get Robinson out there, and again, do a good job of getting the ball to number one in a lot of ways, putting him in motion, throwing them the flares, just doing all they can to get it to your big play guy.
Obi-Wan asks, in a one-game season, do you shorten the bench when it comes to offensive skill players, receivers, and running backs, or do you stay with the rotation that got you there?
I mean, that's an age-old question for us. I don't know the answer to why we do that, but we do sub a lot with receivers. But I do feel like the fact that George was trying to get ready, Burton was trying to get ready all year, and these guys were practicing as the first guys. So maybe we'll shorten it a little bit. But at this point, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think Burton is going to be huge in this game if he can play. He was good last year against them over there in Tuscaloosa. He had a big game as a freshman, so I would be for doing that for sure. But what I am for is getting the best players out there, and that make me guys that I don't think are. So I don't watch them practice, so I don't know that.
Let's wrap with mouth-watering players of the national championship game. Roddy always picks James Cook, but he may go somewhere else. So I'll go Roddy, then I'll take it, and then we'll wrap with Coach.
I'm going with I expect Alabama to run the ball a lot more. So to me, I got to pick somebody on defense who's going to counter that. And I just think that this is Nakobe Dean's time to shine.
He had a great game against Michigan, that's for sure.
Be good if he can run a little faster. I mean,
I think Stetson Bennett is the easy call here because I think if Georgia protects the ball, then you're at least in it late, and then sometimes it takes a little luck. So not to make the easy call, how do you make Bryce Young uncomfortable? Nolan Smith did not have a good game in the SEC championship. Playing with an injury, trying to overcome that, he was dramatically better against Michigan. If Nolan Smith can do that against Alabama, that forces mistakes. And Bryce Young has shown that he will throw interceptions if he's rushed a little bit. You let him sit all day, it's going to be a long day for Georgia. So I'm going to say Nolan Smith.
I'm going to say the 2 tight ends, Washington and Bowers. I just feel like that they're blocking on the perimeter, getting the ball. And of course, Fitzpatrick's in there too, but I don't think you'll get the targets that those two get. They got to have big games, blocking and catching the ball.
That's a national championship show.
All right, folks, appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be discussing this a lot next Tuesday. It'll be the day after the title game. Be sure to tune in at noon. Actually, I'll be on the
Roddy, are you going to be able to sleep?
No, I will not be able to sleep regardless. But
He's going to still be up from the night before.
I'll still be up for it, but it'll be worth it. So point being, tune in next Tuesday. And, of course, check out the watch along. Check out all of our shows at UGASports.com. We appreciate it. And
hey, I just want to give you a little Michael Bublé to end this game. Don't go changing to try and please me. I love you just the way you are, Georgia Bulldogs.
Hey, yeah, do what got you here. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And shout out to all of our sponsors, Dead Soxy, Academia Brewing Company, Athens, Ford, and Your Pie. And, of course, shout out to everybody on the dog vent who submitted questions. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your support. And hope everyone has a happy new year with maybe a brand new national title ring. That would really help you ring in the new year as well. Everybody, take care. We'll see you next week.